But now that we're done with all of the other tanks, we can now get into the actual healers and move on to their roles and get into the actual nitty-gritty of them. So let's go ahead and talk about them, because they are definitely a very they're definitely a famous role to talk about, and I really don't have much of an opinion on them because I don't really play them all that much. I play them here and there when I want to, especially when I'm leveling them up. But I do have a lot that I want to say in some areas here. I'm not going to get too into them in terms of like abilities, because I don't really do much of healing. I just don't do much of healing, guys. Yeah, the whole pure healing bit. What to say about that? Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, the whole pure healing nonsense and the disagreement on some factors there that many people are not really fond of. I don't know whether or not if they've been like living under a tree, but Yoshi P has actually been talking about like pure healing for quite some time now. And I don't know. It's just like when it comes to my thoughts, when I think healing or when I think healer, I do believe it's supposed to, like, I don't know, focus on something that represents its role. I don't know exactly what it was supposed to be, but I do believe it had to do something along the lines of like keeping people alive, making sure health is all right, and just overall making sure that you heal. So as far as pure healing is concerned, I do believe many people are taking that a little bit too far in terms of its meaning. Like, holy crap, we're only just gonna be using heals and nothing else, and yet they still have DPS abilities. Like, it's not like you're gonna be able to, you're not gonna be starting the game and not gonna be able to deal damage, because it's like, how in the world are you gonna level up, you know? And to begin with, healers didn't really even have much in terms of DPS regardless. So it's just like, sure enough, in comparison to then and now, the DPS may have gotten shaven off quite a bit, especially on one particular job that I'll be getting into at very soon. But I just don't really have much to say on the matter. I really don't, because I don't really play healers like many other healers that are dedicated about it. I feel sorry that many of you people are not really all too fond of the changes, but it's just like, wait until we actually get the game and you experience it. You get like your first healer at level 80, you freaking experience the story, and then you're like going ahead and getting into the actual like level 80 dungeons, and just see what it looks like there. Just see what it looks like then, and see how it feels. And then speak your piece on the forums, but make sure that you speak your piece in a human manner, not in an internet manner, because internet manner is not really a manner in which that you really want to do. It's kind of crazy on the internet, so make sure you don't do that. But yes, healing is the point of the role. Pure healing was something that Yoshi P has been thinking about for the longest of times, and wanted to encourage that fact. And so what they did was that they literally increased the amount of AoEs that many of the dungeons do. So it's just like, that's kind of one thing that they facilitated that problem, or just more so given a reason in order for you to actually heal. And not only that, you get more healing abilities on top of the healing abilities on top of the healing abilities that you've gotten, just to make it quite clear that you must focus on healing. Not only that, but also reducing some of the damages on some of the jumps. But it's just like, we're not really gonna be getting into that, okay? But yes, much of the healer's kit have gone through significant changes to gear towards the pure healing, but they still retain the DPS capabilities, as even though they're not really as much of a focus in comparison. But continuing on with some of the role actions, they actually lessen the role actions to about maybe 6 and so it's like we now have like cleric stance, break, protect, thank God, freaking eye for an eye, as well as largesse removed from the game. I can understand largesse because it's like they have given us so many ways to actually heal. There doesn't really seem much of like any reason for you to have it anymore. And then protect, definitely am so happy about that. I can now tank, and literally the second I freaking get into an instance, I can just freaking go ahead and sprint my ass and start freaking pulling. But I probably won't go crazy and like pull the whole entire room, because just like I might end up dying before I even make it to the next pool. Other than that, some of the abilities that we still have is Asuna, Lucid Dreaming, Swift Cast, Sure Cast, Rescue, as well as the newly added Repose from the White Mages kit, which is kind of interesting. I guess that's one thing that they wanted to add in order to make it so that with the solo content they will be able to push through like certain instances and so on and so forth with the enemies and just like not have to deal with them, and that's about it. Now as far as the overall changes on some of them, Lucid Dreaming has actually gotten its cooldown reduced, so it's like that's amazing. That's actually pretty nice, but I don't think that's really going to facilitate much of the problem with the MP management when it comes to some of the jobs other than White Mage, because let me say, that job is quite insane in terms of MP management, and I don't really have much to say on that until I actually get to that job. Swift Cast actually has been moved to level 18, making it even easier for you to per se do what you need to do when it comes to those panic heals and so on and so forth. So yeah, I know some of you guys out there. And then of course, I don't know why in the world they do this with all the pushback abilities, but I was surely not all too happy when Surecast got its cooldown increased to 120 seconds. Why did they have to do that? I was really happy. I was really loving being able to cheese pushbacks when it came to my casters. But I can no longer do that now. So there's that. Damn it, Square. Other than that, so we're gonna go ahead and continue on and get into the actual job, speaking first with the White Mage. The White Mages stand up, please, as holy crap, the amount of changes that have been made to the White Mage is pretty stacking. It's looking like they're actually going to be going up a couple of ranks on my freaking tier list, because they changed quite a bit. So it's like they did exactly what I asked as far as either removing or changing up the Lily system, and oh boy, they changed up that Lily system. They pretty much made it similar to that of the Black Mage, where you now, instead of just randomly getting lilies by the healing magic, you now generate them over time of about 30 seconds for each one, and so you get 3, making 90 seconds in total. And as far as the kit is concerned, not much have really been moved. There's mostly just changes. However, one thing that I don't really understand that hasn't really been removed is the fact that Fluor Aura still exists. Why does this skill still exist? It no longer knocks back and only binds. So it's just like, what's the point of this ability? Anyway, I'm not really gonna get any further into that job, and not job, but more so that ability. I'm just gonna continue on, and go into some of the significant buffs of some of these skills. Like for instance, holy. Speaking of holy crap! This no longer has a friggin' DPS as far as AOE fall off. Damage fall off no longer exists onto this job, and it's just like, holy crap, it is now back to its original damage potency. Well, not its original damage potency, for what I remember correctly. It's more so just back to its return to form, to where it no longer has fall off, and I do believe it's because of the fact that they reduced the potency of it, so that's understandable. But the thing is that, guys, it's already insane for the fact that the MP on this doesn't even cost all that much. And don't even get me started for when you even use thin air. This is one of the reasons why the MP management on freaking white mage is insane, and its DPS is going to be fucking crazy in the AoE scene. Unfortunately though, in terms of the AoE scene, certain things have actually been removed. Like for instance, Arrow 3. Yeah, we no longer have that. So it's like, I'm sorry for all of you Arrow 3 lovers. I definitely love the animation in terms of the cast for that skill, and I'm saddened that I will not be able to see that on my Zelene, so there's that. But overall, potency increases all around as far as the magic spells and DPS spells, but just getting into some of the all of the other skills, like as far as Asylum, that actually its freaking HP recovery has been increased due to a new trait at level 78. So it's like, that's actually pretty crazy in and of itself. That's definitely even more HP going into the fray right there. But continuing on with some of its other cooldowns, some of its other abilities, where it's like Divine Benison's change is kind of weird. I don't really think I understood it for like what the tooltip was saying, where it absorbs the equivalent to a heal of 500 potency instead of just like the 15%. And I didn't really bother checking the math on this in terms of like where the 15% entails in terms of the damage absorbed and so on and so forth. So it's like, I'm not 100% sure if this change is actually great or phenomenal or amazing. So yeah, I'm not really going to get much into that ability, but as far as I'm concerned, I guess the change on it is just something of significance. Maybe not. One other thing that has actually gotten actual significant changes is Plenary Indulgence, where it no longer actually has different cure potencies, thank God. It now instead grants confessions to self as well as the party, and upon healing self or party with Medica 2, as well as Cure 3, the additional potency, healing potency that adds on top of that will be triggered, which will be random. I don't really know whether or not if it's actually going to be 200. I don't know whether or not if they're going to be changing that potency. Like I said before, I'm not really going to be talking about potencies here and taking them seriously. Please don't take them seriously either. They'll maybe change. They may not. We don't know. Until then, let's not talk about it. But that change is just great overall, because it actually makes Plenary Indulgence something instead of just nothing, because I really find that I get nothing out of Plenary Indulgence sometimes. And now talking about its new skills, that actually brings its healing and its DPS to a crazy degree. We talk about the whole entire thing with the Lily system now, to where we are getting something that is called the Afflictus Solus, or just the Afflictus trait or abilities that work with the actual Lily gauge, where certain spells like Afflictus Solus, a new spell that unlocks at level 52, so it's like you'll be able to get this early at a pretty early time, increases literally the HP with a potency of like 700 with just one Lily. This is insane. It is literally an instant potent heal of 700, and that's ridiculous, honestly. not only that, you even have freaking Inflatus Rapture, which is a new spell unlocked at 76, and that increases, not increases, but more so restores HP of all party members with a potency of 300. And so it's like you also have that freaking ridiculous AoE healing. So you really just can't beat White Mage right now. It's looking really threatening, to be perfectly honest. Because to top it all off, when you actually use some of these abilities about 3 times, you will be able to actually use an ability called Afflatus Misery. And this is all due to the actual trait known as the Heart of Solace that you gain at level 74. And it grants a Blood Lily once you use any of the Afflatus spells 3 times. And when you use this ability, you're dealing literally an AoE damage of 900 without fall off. So it's like every 90 seconds, you're essentially doing 900 damage, guys. I don't know exactly how to take all of that in, because you don't have any damage fall off on this skill. That's just flat 900 right there. What the hell is this job? Okay, so continuing on, obviously we get new spells off of Stone and Arrow, which is now known as freaking Glare and Dia, which are 2 nice looking abilities. And then of course a new ability known as Temperance, where we finally get our nice looking wings. We no longer need to be married in order to actually get our wings anymore. We can now just get our wings when we're a White Mage, but it's like we can only get it for 120 seconds, mind you. So it's like every 2 minutes you'll be an angel. So just know that every 2 minutes you can actually be an angel now. Just know. So with this ability, it increases the healing magic potency by 20%, as well as reducing damage taken to all members by 10%. So it's like, this is an awesome like utility for a healer. And it's kind of crazy when you'll be able to use it in the actual like tiers. I'm very interested to see exactly how the White Mages are going to be when it comes to the tiers in the rating scene, with the extremes and the savage and so on and so forth, because I'm definitely interested in doing savage now, even more so with how like the changes that they're implementing here. And so overall, White Mage is looking to be a freaking powerhouse in this expansion right now. I really can't think but say that they're most likely going to be overtaking the other healers a bit. It's really crazy, but we're just gonna have to see once it comes to it. We're just gonna have to see when it comes to it. So speaking of the other healers, let's go ahead and get into the Scholar. Alrighty, so all right. Ooh. Oh buddy. Oh buddy. Oh boy. What did they do to you, Scholar? What did they do to you? All right, so they have did quite a drastic change on the DPS department, as far as I can definitely say, taking quite a good chunk of some of the staple abilities. This is mostly due to the fact that they tried to make some like differences between the Summoner as well as the Scholar, and the whole entire trying to separate identity stick with from Arcanus. So yeah, I don't really think many people are fond of it, but we're just gonna see where this goes. Hopefully the changes that they made up to the point when the game actually releases will be somewhat acceptable. Because what we're looking at is that Energy Drain, Miasma, freaking Sustain, Bane, Miasma 2, Rouse, and Shadow Flare have been removed. Now, before I get into it, as far as the pet system works now, they have actually become way more responsive for what I learned, and not only that, they no longer die. So now we no longer have to worry about our pets anymore, guys, for both freaking Scholar and Summoner. 2 thumbs up from that. To continue on, they even tried to make it even more apparent when it came to the whole entire separating bit, where like Summon and Summon 2 are now been renamed to actually Summon Eos and Summon Selene, just to make it clear that you won't be confused on what in the word you're summoning. Certain abilities have been moved, as far as Resurrection being moved to an earlier level from 18. Ruin has actually gotten its potency increase as far as Ruin 2 is concerned, so that's interesting. But we're not really going to be talking about DPS because it's kind of saddening due to a great chunk of the DPS being removed. But I will get one thing out of the way. One thing that's quite clear, the elephant in the room here. Art of War. One of the things that I'm hoping that gets changed is the MP cost on Art of War. I don't understand why this costs 200 MP in comparison to that of the white mages. Yeah, it costs 200 MP more than Holy. It shouldn't. It really shouldn't. So I hope they fix that. That really shouldn't be a thing, because the Scholar is already bad enough when it comes to MP management, quite frankly, and so you're really putting a damper on the Scholars when it comes to that fact. So I really hope that the change to that comes when we actually play the game. Now going into various other changes that I'm definitely interested in is the fact that Ad Loquium has an additional effect where it's nullifying damage in terms of the info on the toolkit, which is pretty weird, just the same as like Divine Benison. It now freaking just restores about what, 120% HP, instead of like nullifying damage equaling to the amount of HP. Actually, I think I said that completely wrong. Let me see here. It's more so like the change from nullifying damage equaling to the amount of HP has been like changed to 120% of HP restored. There we go. That makes a little bit more sense. Apologies. But not only that, it actually adds a new effect, which is essentially granting Catalyze. Think about it. Wait a second. Catalyze actually is the whole entire thing with the nullifying damage equaling to the amount of HP restored. So it's like the additional effect. I actually looked back onto it because I was kind of confused when it came to the tooltip. I guess I wasn't reading it correctly. But it's like it grants Galvanize to target nullifying damage equaling 120% the amount of HP restored when critical HP is restored. But not only that, it also grants Catalyze, which nullifies damage equaling the amount of HP restored. So it's just like, you're not really going to be worrying about your HP going down, like, at any point. I'm just going to point that out right now. So continuing on with some of its other abilities, like some that have actually been moved to much later levels, like for instance Aetherflow, which you now unlock at level 45. But it's like, it kind of makes sense because we have no use for it due to some of our earlier abilities being removed. So, yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, but I guess Square is definitely not sorry. Continuing on, many other abilities that have been removed, like Lustrate has actually been removed from its like cap in terms of like level 50, and it now unlocks at level 45. And then not to mention certain abilities like Deployment Tactics no longer extends eye for an eye because, well, it has been removed. Many other things like Chain Stratagem got nerfed, unfortunately, because of the whole entire universal utility increase in terms of crit has just been like reduced to a certain minimum here. It actually been done to many of their jobs, and I'm quite saddened about it. But I guess it just had to be done. But yeah, I guess it just had to be done. Other than that, as far as this new ability with Fey Union being increased, and then of course some of its potencies being just the same, other than some of its other spells, they've gotten increases or they've gotten decreases. I do believe a great majority of them have gotten increases though. Now going into some of the other abilities like Broil 3 or Biolysis, those are new abilities that we actually get at level 72, and they actually deal quite a good amount of damage, somewhat. But one thing that I want to talk about in terms of their other new abilities, which are interesting, is Resuscitation. A new ability that you unlock at level 74 that allows Adlo, Sucker, Endom, as well as XCOG to be used without MP. Also ensuring critical HP. So it's like, you're literally getting a free crit Adlo and a crit Sucker. Like, guys, I can't help but just say, but that is absolutely amazing. Even though you get at a later level, is still freaking amazing. And now one thing that's also amazing is the fact on the amount of heals that you'll be getting, because you now get a freaking Bahamut Fairy. You now get to summon Seraph. A new summoning, which is literally the Scholar's Bahamut. You'll be able to actually summon a higher fairy to use potent versions of the Whispering Dawn and Fey Illumination called not Whispering, but Angel's Whisper and Saphiric Illumination. So it's like you have so much that you can really do here when it comes to this this new fairy. Not only that, but it has its own two abilities, which are a more potent Embrace as well as Fey Blessing called Saphiric Veil and Consolation. Only that now, great majority of these abilities not only do heals, but they also add shields on top of the healing, which lasts for 30 seconds. So Scholar, in terms of shielding, is gotten even more shielding on top of the shielding on top of the shielding on top of the shielding. Speaking of that, now that I think about it, I completely forgot how Sacred Soil now has a regen effect on top of its nullifying effect. It baffles me. It baffles me in terms of just how OP it's going to be in terms of the whole entire nullifying and healing aspect at the same time it's going to have in comparison to all the other healers. So it's like it still has its own identity added to it, to where it now stands on top of that aspect. So that's a good thing in and of itself. I definitely like that. Other than that, guys, with that in mind, we now move on to the last change for the healers as far as the Astrologian. So let's go ahead and take a look at that job and deep dive into the card systems. Oh buddy, so I'm pretty sure many of you people love your balance, right? You love your balance, correct? Just gotta love that balance. Well, I hope you love it even more because you got 6 of them now. Yes, Astro has greatly lost a good chunk of its RNG, with pretty much all of its cards now just being a form of balance, or just being a balance, essentially. And we're not even gonna like go in circles around that. Each of the cards essentially have the same thing on them in terms of their effects, where they now increase damage dealt to a party member or so by 6% for melees and 3% for all other jobs. Which, honestly, why is it that it's only for the melees that they get a significant increase? Like, I really find that to be off-putting. Why can't the casters have a similar increase, you know? However, if we get into the new change for the Lady of Crowns as well as the Lord of Crowns, then we'll probably see something a little bit different with those. Other than that, going back to the actual cards, they actually now grant something new that's going to reflect onto a new skill. And what they do now is that for each time that you grant an Arcanum, you actually get a stack, or it grants a new stack towards it, which is the Solar, Lunar, or Celestial Seals. And what that will entail is that if you collect pretty much all 3 of these, you will be able to use a new ability, which is called Divination, a new ability that you actually unlock at level 50. And what it does is that it increases damage dealt by self and party members, dependent on the number of different seals obtained from playing at least 3 Arcanums, with 3 for none, which kind of makes no sense. Actually, yeah, 3% for none, and then for some reason you still get 3% for 2, which I really don't understand. That doesn't make any sense. It would make more sense if you made 3% for none, 6% for 2, and then instead of making 6% for 3, you get 8% for 3. Yeah, no? Or if not that, maybe 9. Make that 9 instead. Yes, make it 9. So you have 3, 6, 9. And no, I'm not even going to make a joke on 3, 6, 9, damn we fine. I think Mr. Happy already did that. Other than that, one of the other changes as far as the Lady of Crowns and Lord of Crowns is that the damage dealt for the Lady of Crowns increases the range's DPS by 8% and 4% for the other jobs, while the Lord of Crowns increases the melees for 8% or 4% for the other jobs. And one thing about the actual like Arcanums now is that you now have redraw under the charge system, to where you will be able to have a maximum charge of 3, making you have the ability to redraw multiple times. However, to actually bring out that change, you no longer have Royal Road, Empty Road, Spread, Undraw, Spread in your kit, because, well, you no longer have any abilities that facilitate or have anything to relate to those abilities anymore. So it's like there's no reason for you to even have those. So yeah, they went ahead and removed those, and we're no longer going to see them ever again. I don't know how to feel about it, but it's something that is most certainly a change per se. So getting into the bulk of some of its like changes, where of course, just like every other healer, it has like freaking healing increases all around. One thing as far as its cooldowns is that light speed has actually gotten its duration increased to 15 seconds. So it's like you get that extra speed for a couple more seconds. So that's great. And other additions as far as like Essential Dignity now has like 2 maximum charges. Even though you get that at level 78, I find that to be a nice addition to some of the actual healer's abilities, especially for Essential Dignity. Like, holy crap, you get actual 2 charges out of that shit? You're not really going to be having much of any problems with panic heals now. I'm just going to say that much for certain. It's a good thing they didn't really have made any changes in terms of its healing potency, so that's a good thing to actually add in there. Other healing potencies as far as like Aspected, Benefit Regen, and Helios. Healing potencies have been increased somewhat, as well as their times have gone through like some influx or just like exchanges. But getting into the DPS side of things, freaking Gravity. Thank God they finally did this, because this was one of the things I asked for from my video, is that I wanted the oh my God, I wanted the Astrologians to finally have their gravity at an earlier level, and they made it as the same as freaking Holy and Art of War, which is great. They made it to where pretty much the tanks, the healers, all jobs now have like an AoE capability that they unlock at around the 40 level. And I love and enjoy this change. I am so happy for it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you. So Continuing on from that, we get this at level 46, and unfortunately it has gotten its DPS, like its potency decrease, but it has no fall off. So it's just like, at the very least we have that, and you can spam it as many times as you want, and so on and so forth with light speed, and just go crazy with it. So going on to some of its other changes, where like collective unconsciousness, regen healing has actually gotten nerfed for some reason. Celestial opposition now restores HP to nearby party members with a freaking regen add on top of it, but it's just like, I'm sad that we got the stunning effect removed. Like, we could have actually kept that and just removed the extending of the cards, but alrighty. Alright. I don't really know what to say about that. I'm kind of disappointed, but okay, whatever works. And then, of course, Earthly Star have actually gotten their potency decreased as far as the Stellar Burst and the Stellar Explosion as far as the DPS side of things, because that's not really all too surprising. They obviously weren't going to be decreasing the healing potency of it, but the DPS, yeah, that shit gonna go down, son. So yeah, I don't really have much other to say of that. It's saddening, sure. Oh boy. Okay, so moving along to some of the newer abilities, as well as the level 70 ability. Sleeve Draw's cooldown has increased significantly to 180 seconds. So you get used to that. Also, we no longer have the uses of it executing Royal Road Spread as well as Minor Arcana Succession. It now instead resets the draw recast timer and grants 2 stacks of Sleeve Draw, which I'm not 100% sure on what that means, but I can only imagine that you get something added on top. I do believe it was something that was within the video. I just could not wrap my head around exactly what it entirely meant, but it sounds like it's going to be effective in terms of getting your actual cards, your arcanums, and so on and so forth. So that's something to definitely look forward to. Combust and Combust 2 are the same potencies, and I don't know why. I do believe that is actually a tooltip error, and I'm pretty sure that's most likely going to be fixed, because it doesn't make sense for the potency of Combust 3 and upgrade of Combust 2 that have the same potencies. Doesn't make any sense. Moving on, we obviously get another Malefic, so that's something to look forward to. But these last 3 abilities, however, are something that we definitely need to get into, because Celestial Intersection is something of like another healing variant of Celestial Opposition, where you unlock at level 74, and it restores a target's HP with a healing potency of 100 and erects a barrier with a duration of 30 seconds. So it's like, it's pretty much both nocturnal and diurnal for just a single target, while as Celestial Opposition is like an AoE variant without the shielding part, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so you now have a single target and a single target variant of the Celestial ability. It's just that you get this one at level 74, so you won't be seeing it anytime soon when you're leveling it. And as far as the cooldown is concerned, 60 seconds is not too bad. Not 60, 30 seconds is not too bad for what it is worth. And then moving on to another ability that's very interesting here, Horoscope, that you get at level 76, apparently reads the fortune of yourself or for someone else, and that grants a stack that pretty much lasts for 10 seconds, and upon using either Helios or Aspected Helios, you will be able to get another effect known as Horoscope Helios. And so when you read that person a second time, the HP will be restored under its effects, with the cooldown being under 60 seconds. As far as the potency of the heal, not 100% sure on that, but it sounds like it's going to be a very interesting way in terms of being able to heal various other individuals on top of the different heals that you have on. You're most likely going to be using on the tank, or you'll most likely be using it on yourself, but it's most likely going to be the tank for what I know of. And then not only that, it's coup de grace ability, the neutral sect, which is essentially what it's supposed to be. It is literally the middle ground of diurnal and freaking nocturnal, to where you'll essentially be able to do both abilities at the same time for pretty much a couple of seconds. So as far as my general gist with this job, my overall feelings on it is kind of conscrewed, because like at the same time I enjoyed being able to freaking pull those like nice RNG pulls with the cards, and then there will be those moments where it's just like, what the fuck, I have to go through this whole entire thing without being able to pull out a damn balance or a spear or a freaking arrow or anything of that nature. Because let me tell you guys, even though many people are not really fond of arrow, whenever I freaking have that arrow in dungeons, when I'm a black mage, I'm just gonna let you know now and be like, that shit right there is the good shit. Yeah, it's that good shit. Anyway, yes, it's going to be something different, and I can appreciate something different. It's just going to take some time to get used to. So until that time, I am just going to roll with the punches and go from there. So with that in mind, we will now move on to the DPS, which is the most anticipating thing for me in the long run. Oh boy, these DPSs, some of them are looking just oh so fun, and others are looking a bit like, oh, okay, I'll try you out, see what you're looking like. Some of the changes that you made are looking pretty good. They're looking pretty good. One thing that I would definitely like to point out that I did not point out at the very beginning is the fact that we can now rejoice on the fact that we can now do AoEs without having to freaking worry about TP. My guys, all the melees and physical ranges out there, you better freaking take this to a freaking T. I swear to all that is holy. It is an amazing feeling to be able to not worry about our TP anymore. It is going to be an amazing feeling once we have this in our hands. And just like, ever since I figured that out, I kind of stopped wanting to play the game and just to wait for this to come out so I can just enjoy being able to spam everything like crazy in dungeons without having to worry about my TP. There's a specific job when it comes to that, and we're gonna get to it soon enough. But not only that, as far as the other changes to its kit with the roll actions, obviously certain things that needed to be removed that no longer have any significance anymore. Diversion, Invigorate, Goad, as well as Crutch have been removed. So it's just like, it's pretty much fair game. It's something that I pretty much saw a mile away. I really thought it was kind of puzzling with how things were going to be removed, exactly what in the world they're going to do with like the abilities, like in what way are they going to cost anything for you to use them. They cost shit, nothing, literally nothing. I wasn't expecting that, and I'm actually surprised. I was genuinely surprised on this fact that they would not cost anything, and I am happy for this fact because it's going to be something purely special for this expansion, I'm going to say right now. So with that, in terms of all of the other jobs with their changes, not many of them have gotten significant changes. Some of them have gotten quality of life changes, and some of them became an all-out brand new job in and of itself. So we're going to go ahead and get into that right after we're done with the roll actions, with how we already spoke about them being, some of them being removed. Others of them have been changed as far as Second Wind. Wait, actually no, I do believe Second Wind is the only one that did not get any change. It's more so Leg Sweep has gotten it unlocks at a later level, at level 10, and Bloodbath unlocks at level 12 instead of level 32. Interesting to actually get those at a very early level. The same be said for Fent, which now unlocks at level 22 instead of freaking level 40. And Arm's Length is essentially the same thing. However, one of the greatest changes out of these role actions is True North, because oh, this is going to be such an amazing skill to freaking use at any time now, where it just got buffed all the hell, like literally buffed all the hell. This thing now freaking has a cooldown of 45 seconds instead of 90 seconds and has charges to them to where you can literally use it twice with a duration of 15 seconds instead of 10. So it's just like, guys, you have no idea exactly how amazing this is. Some of you do. I know a lot of you do if you're monk, and I know a lot of you do if you're ninja. I know especially. Because again, them trick attacks is definitely gonna be feeling real good when you don't have to do it in the back. Yes, as far as the overall changes to the role actions, I am pretty much fine with what we have here. Everything about this is great. There is definitely nothing I have anything to say negative other than the fact of Arm's Length. That's the only thing that I'm definitely sad about. But yes, let's go ahead and get into the actual jobs now, starting with the monk. And good God, let's see here. When it comes to the monk, I am not really all too like... It's similar to that of the warrior, where I just can't find myself to literally like get into it. I love playing it at the earlier levels when I was playing it, and that was mainly due to the fact that as far as the other jobs or classes were concerned, they didn't really have much of like abilities for you to use, because you just kept on essentially spamming them over a like literally a 2-hit combo, because the majority of their other combos wouldn't actually unlock until like level 26. So it's like monk, with how they actually had diversity at earlier levels than the other jobs, made it way more fun and intuitive for me when it came to the melee. But when it came to like later on, with how many times you have to manage the stacks and so on and so forth, grease lightning and so on and so forth, and then of course some of its abilities weren't really all too kind to the job when it came to Heaven's Word. And then when Starblood came out, like it finally got a utility, which was great. It finally got the changes that it needed, which was great. But it's just like the overall feeling of it was just not great enough for me to really like go out and play it over the other jobs in terms of their feelings. For what it is worth, Monk right now is looking pretty good, because I'm just gonna point out right now, they literally did freaking do what I asked for somewhat, to a degree, where they, if I remember correctly, and yes, by any chance, is it possible if you could help me with this one again? What was it that I said again that I asked for?
Get that bitch a cannon. Bitches love cannons.
Oh, yes, that is duly noted. That is duly noted. I pretty much remember that to a T. So, yes, as far as that, select moves that have been removed from the monk's kit are as followed. Internal release, which again, the whole entire crit thing. Still peak. One Ilm Punch, which I do believe not really many people actually enjoyed that move to begin with. Howling Fist, Purification, and of course the current tank, not tank, but tackle mastery with Wind, Fire, and Earth tackle have been removed. So it's just like, thank God, because that was actually another aspect I wasn't really too fond with the monk, was the whole entire shoulder tackle central shtick that they had going with it. So this will definitely be a change of form, where we don't really have to worry about that nonsense in order to manage with the actual Grease Lightning stack when it came to like the Wind Tackle and various other things, as far as like, for instance, the Riddle of Fire and Riddle of Earth, where they no longer actually grant Fist of Earth and Fist of Fire. So that's a very nice change. You will no longer be forced to actually go within those stances anymore, and will be able to still have their effects overall without actually changing into those stances, as I was pointing out. But many other changes to its kit is definitely nice additions, whereas its AoEs and its pretty much its potencies all around for pretty much a good majority of the job have been increased or changed somewhat. Like for instance, Boot Shine has gotten an increase, as well as a new effect where it is now able to deal even more damage added on with the crit if you use the Dragon Kick in order to obtain said effect, known as Lead and Fist. And that's mainly due to the fact that it no longer actually gives you resistance, a resistance debuff. So it's like they of course needed to add something in order to facilitate that and make it to where it makes sense for the job. So they added Lead and Fist for the Boot Shine to actually do a lot more damage in comparison to what it does now. And honestly, I think I enjoy that change. It really is nice, especially with the fact that we no longer have resistance debuff, blunt resistance, piercing resistance, freaking slashing resistance, all of that gone, which is something that I definitely enjoy. We no longer need to worry about that nonsense. No job is no longer like viable when it comes to that, and we no longer need to worry about that nonsense. So that's great. That is amazing. And then of course Arm of Destroyer, which is essentially our now even more potent AoE ability, where it actually gotten a increase in damage and has removed its silencing, mainly due to the fact that now the range DPS as well as the tanks are going to be focusing on that stuff. But not only that, it has a follow-up, which is 4-Point Fury, which is essentially the follow-up to Arm of Destroyer leading into Rockbreaker, which will now be our sole AoE combo. And I really gotta say, it is definitely a nice looking attack for what it is worth. I actually really enjoy the spin kicking going on around here. There's gonna be a lot of kicks going on in the Monk's kit, especially when it comes to the new ability that I'll be getting into later on. But for now, I definitely like the additions that they made to the AoE kit, where we have this as well as a new ability that we obtain at level 74, which is known as Enlightenment, a line AoE that can only be used when you're actually within the 5 chakra, and when you execute it, it pretty much clears out all of the 5 chakras on execution, as obvious as you can no doubt tell. On top of the elixir field, which unfortunately gotten its like DPS decreased, so yeah, there's that, unfortunately. But hey, at the very least, we now got even more freaking AoEs and even more stuff going on with its damage to rectify that. And yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it's shaping up to look pretty good. One thing that's not pretty good, however, is the fact that they actually brought Perfect Balance back to the way it was again. Yeah, they brought it back to its heydays of being 120 seconds instead of 60 seconds, guys. And I'm pretty sure not many monks are really fond of that. Nope, I'm pretty sure not. Yes, it's definitely not good. Nope. But one thing that is good is the fact that Fist of Fire actually got its damage dealt increase to 6% instead of 5%. Yes. Yes. Even though it's just 1%, that extra percent is like interesting. Actually, wait a second. No, it's actually supposed to be 10%. That makes a lot more sense. And that in and of itself is just freaking amazing all around. Like you can't even freaking beat that. I'm just gonna point that out right now. You can't beat that whatsoever. But getting back to the thing at hand, we also have a shoulder tackle, which is actually under the charge system, and that's monks are definitely not going to be having any problems freaking getting to the boss anymore, because they get to freaking do it 2 times and get back into the fray of things. And speaking of which, one thing that they will definitely not be worrying about is their freaking stacks, because they now have a new ability known as Anatma that halts the actual Grease Lightning and your present form, as well as pretty much extending Grease Lightning, actually. And to add on top of that, Fist of Wind now grants a 4th Grease Lightning stack at level 78 that people have been waiting for so long to actually have now. It has been so many years, and finally, we have gotten our actual 4th Grease Lightning stack. I only wonder exactly how people feel about that fact. And so to kick things off and finish it up with the monk, we now have a new skill which is known as the Six-Sided Star, and it's a new ability that deals 400, extends the Grease Lightning duration. The only thing that's pretty interesting to it is that it does not share a recast timer with other skills. However, when executed, the recast timer of said ability is applied to the other skills. So I'm just like, how is that going to work out? Because let's see here, if I remember correctly, the recast is 4.88 seconds, and I don't know, that is kind of strange considering how the recast time for some of the weapon skills, well, all the weapon skills, are essentially 2.44. So it's like, that's twice. That's actually twice the recast. That's really slow. I can only fathom that the reason why they did that is more so because the speed in which you're doing all of this with the 4th Grease Lightning is much greater in comparison. So it's like, you'll essentially be feeling the same speed as you originally did before you even got the Grease Lightning stack. Maybe, maybe not. Kinda so, probably. I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, it just sounds weird, and I don't know why in the world it's like that. But as far as my overall opinions on it, it sounds like it's going to be a pretty fun job. For what it is worth, I can't wait to actually try it when it comes out and actually level it up to 80. It's probably not going to be the first, second, or third, or fourth job that I'll level up, per se, but it's going to be a job that I'll level up nonetheless. Then, so, to finish that off, I think that's about everything that I have for the monk, so we're just going to go ahead and move on to the Dragoon. And good God, man, just the same as Paladin, the Dragoons just keep on growing and growing and growing and just getting better and better and better and just even more badass and badass and badass and cool looking, because, oh man, we're actually getting abilities like the way that we should, and it's freaking amazing. I just can't help but say that Dragoons be represented in every single expansion thus far. They be represented. So with the Dragoon, not much changes have been added other than the fact that they now have 2 paths that they actually go into now from just one skill, which I definitely enjoy that change. It's pretty much similar to that of the tanks, where you literally start off with one skill and then end up going through either one path to do this skill or go through another path in order to do this skill. However, you're still going to do this one path in order for you to get your said buffs before you do this other path. And so to really explain that, first off, the skills that have been removed, which were very necessary to being removed, was Heavy Thrust and Impulse Drive. And thank God they actually removed that, because holy crap, I swear, it was just so disorienting having to literally start off with Heavy Thrust all the time. It was really one of the things I was not too fond of with the Dragoon, because now one thing that's making a lot of sense is how freaking, well, Disembowel does exactly what Heavy Thrust does now, mainly due to the fact that it no longer has a reducing piercing damage resistance. And so you actually get Disembowel very early in comparison to what we get it now. We get it at level 18 from level freaking 38 with this potency increase, and then of course the freaking damage dealt increased by 10% from Heavy Thrust. So it's just like this change by itself is already amazing, because it makes the job so much better in comparison to what it is right now. It makes it to where I feel like I'll be able to play a lot more in comparison to what I've been doing now. even though I still love the job for the feel of it, it's just that that first part, it's always just so off-putting when I have to like literally go out of my way in putting using heavy thrust, because it's just like the flow of it is not it's not smooth, and it's not a great feeling at all. Anyway, getting back into what I was pointing out before is the fact that True Thrust is now the starting skill for our branching chain combos, which it has, of course, an increase. An increase has pretty much been made all throughout this job's weapon skills. However, one thing that's actually great is the fact that Life Surge now unlocks at level 6 from level 18, and it, if I remember correctly, its cooldown has actually been reduced as well from 50 seconds to 45 seconds. And let me tell you, that in and of itself is just an amazing change. I actually love that quite a lot. The only thing is that with this tooltip, it says that it no longer restores the HP by about like 10%. It just restores HP. So it's just okay. I don't know whether or not if that's an error, but we'll see exactly where that entails. However, one thing that I would like to point out that I love absolutely the most is the fact that Blood for Blood has now been changed to Lance Charge. And the reason for that is because it no longer increases damage suffered. So it's like there's no point for it to be known as Blood for Blood anymore. And I love that. Dragoons can now wreak havoc upon their enemies. And it is amazing. It is absolutely amazing, guys. You just have no idea. I'm pretty sure you do, but it's just like, good God, golly goodness, it's just freaking amazing that we can finally no longer worry about dying and becoming the freaking floor tank. We're still technically the floor tank because of our jumps, but even that kind of has been facilitated somewhat. And speaking of that, we actually have gotten some significant changes to the jump, where at level 74, we'll have a trait where jump changes into high jump, which is so, holy crap, so much faster. Like, good God, golly goodness. Oh, like, what in the world? Sure enough, it still brings you back to where you were, similar to that of how jump works. But it's just like, it deals so much damage, and it is so much faster in terms of animation. I kind of wish that was what its animation was to begin with, but I guess you've got to build up to what you want and go from there. Other than that, moving along to many of the other stuff that we have a new follow-up skill. If you actually do the thrusts, the final thrust as far as Willing Thrust and Fanging Claw in their correct positions, you will actually be given a new skill which is called Raiden Thrust, a skill that you get at level 76 that replaces True Thrust. It does an extra freaking potency of about like 330 in comparison to the potency of True Thrust at like 290. So it's just like, guys, that's freaking damage, ridiculous. And so that is a new spin of things. On top of that, not only that, flips for days. Like, seriously, that freaking animation is just badass looking as all get out. And speaking of badass looking abilities, we get another follow-up skill known as Corthorn Torment, following up from the actual Sonic Thrust, the Doom Spike combo, which unlocks at level 72, a literal line AoE that it extends the blood of the dragon just the same as Sonic Thrust. An amazing looking ability. Honestly, I think it's probably a lot cooler in comparison to our previous skill that we actually lost back in Heaven's Word. And in as much as many people are very saddened for that fact, I find that this ability is something that will definitely stay true to the Dragoon. And yeah, other than that, I just think that it's so freaking cool in comparison. It's actually a very nice skill, a very nice looking skill. And now looking into some of its actual abilities, as far as its cooldowns, Battle Litany unfortunately met the same fate as like Chain Stratagem, where its critical hit rate has been decreased. So it's like, yeah, there's that. unfortunately, it had to meet the same fate. But one thing that is very nice is how Gyrskogul now immediately brings you in Life of the Dragon after literally just like 2 usage, if I remember correctly. Like, let's see here, for Mirage Dive, I do believe the Life of the Dragon gauge only really needs like 2 of the Mirage Dives in order for you to then use Gyrskogul in order to enter Life of the Dragon. So you can actually enter Life of the Dragon much earlier. And not only that, you actually go into Life of the Dragon with 30 seconds immediately. So that that's freaking epic. That's epic. That is just overwhelmingly epic and amazing. I really enjoy and love the change that they made to that to a T. No joke. 2 thumbs up. And I love the gauge, actually. The gauge looks very nice. Love the changes of the colors. Definitely representable to that of the Dragoon. And now, as far as that is concerned, we now get into the new ability that we finally get, which is literally Final Chorus. But I guess we just wanted to go ahead and put a new spin on things and name it something entirely different. And so, yeah, we get a new ability called Stardiver, which is our new AoE attack. Freaking deals 550 potency, but it's like it has a little bit of fall off of about 30%, but hey, yeah, it's just fine. It's completely negligible. It's completely negligible. Obviously, it ends the effect of the Life of the Dragon, so it's like that's something that we will pretty much use at the very end. And as far as that is concerned, Dragoon is looking pretty, not exactly versatile, but more so just like it is essentially the same, but it loses absolutely nothing for what it has now. And the overall feeling of it is going to be a bit different due to the fact that we no longer have heavy thrust and impulse drive. And I just feel like it's going to be an even more enjoyable job with the changes that they made to it. It's like it's still a reform, a whole entire quality of life change to something that we have been used to for so many years. And so once we get into it, we're definitely going to be finding it hard for us to freaking like not get out of the habit of doing certain things. But other than that, we're going to go ahead and get into the next job, which is the Ninja. And now with the Ninja hasn't really gotten much changes as far as great removals, as far as I know, other than like amity skills and so on and so forth. They mostly have gotten like quality of life changes, additions to his kit, and even more damage on top of that, making it a dangerous job to really even think of picking up in the long run. And what I mean by that is like the complexity of the job has actually gone up just a bit for what I imagine. And even though that is great for some and maybe not so great for others, the complexity is what actually brings out some of the veterans, but not only that, just some of the players where they want some of that challenge. And so Ninja being that one thing that actually gives the challenge is a great thing overall. And then of course it has Trick Attack, which is the most viable ability of all time, so it's just like then you can't really compete with that unless you're a dancer, which is completely different, but we're not really going to get into that just yet. So to begin with, Jugulate, freaking amity skills such as Smokescreen and Shaywalker have been removed because we no longer need them. Jugulate being removed is mostly due to the fact that it has silence, so it's like they kind of could have actually just like removed the silence part of it and made it more so like a cooldown that has a like DPS ability. But it is what it is. Whatever is worth. I kind of just liked using it in order for me to like weave in some of my own weapon skills, but alright, no big deal. As far as that is concerned, one thing that I definitely would like to point out is the fact that its gauge no longer freaking generates via by auto attacks anymore. So it's like it learned from that fact, that whole entire shtick in Stormblood. Unfortunately, I kind of wish that they could have taught that to the paladin, because the paladin is actually meeting a similar fate, and I'm not really all too fond of that. But it now freaking generates via by the weapon skills, so you're going to be using a lot of your Nenki, and you're going to be using a lot of your Nenki skills. So it's like, I hope you guys are ready for it. It's going to be a nice return to form, not return to form, but a nice quality of life change to the job in and of itself, because of just how it's going to change the gameplay of the job overall. And speaking of changing of gameplay of the job overall, some of the skills that we used to know have actually been relegated into something else. Assassinate is now a level 60 skill instead of a level 12 skill, because it no longer does this ability where you can use it at a certain HP pool on a target's HP. You actually get to use it whenever you have Assassin Ready, a new ability, available after you use Dream Within a Dream, which is a skill that has been relegated to the level 50, level 56, if I remember correctly. And so it's like, you now essentially have a combo on top of Dream Within a Dream, which has actually gotten its potency increased. And then not only that, you even have Assassinate, which has a potency increase of 200 and deals a crit, like a guaranteed crit. So try to literally put that into perspective of exactly what in the world you're capable of doing with both Dream Within a Dream and Assassinate in a rotation. That's crazy. But not only that, freaking Mug has gotten its potency increase as well as its Ninki gain. So it's like, that's a nice touch up. Freaking Trick Attack got a potency increase. Just potency increases all around for some of the attacks that it has, as well as its AoEs. And speaking of AoEs, Death Blossom has a follow-up, which is known as freaking Hakemujin Satsu, which is our new AoE skill following after freaking Death Blossom, and it extends the Huton, which is freaking ridiculous. So it's like, we now have another form of Armor Crush, which is an AoE variant, and that is amazing. I'm just going to point that out right now. That is amazing. Thank you. That is very much needed. However, one of the things that kind of baffles me here is, how should I say this? Hellfrog Medium, in terms of our AoE, now has a fall off of about 50%. So I don't know how a great majority of you ninjas feel about that, but yeah, it's kind of sad exactly how much DPS that just went down the toilet. But we're not really gonna complain too much about it. It may change, it may not. I hope it does. But moving along with some of the other changes that it has, Shikuchi now has actually a maximum charges of 2, so you'll be able to use it a lot more in comparison to what it is now. However, you won't be able to use it until you get to level 74, so there's something to wait on that. However, that's not the only thing that has gotten freaking a charge. Freaking Kasatsu has gotten quite the buff, where it now has a reduced cooldown of 60 seconds from 120 seconds. Which I'm still trying to freaking wrap my head around that. And then you can use it twice. And at the same time, it has an upgrade ability where freaking Huiton and Katon freaking change into 2 new abilities that have potency increases to all hell. Freaking Hyoisho Ranryu and Goka Mekiyaku. Like, what are these abilities? They freaking both do ridiculous amount of damage, and with one being single target and the other freaking being AoE. So it's like, guys, I can't wrap around what in the world I'm witnessing here with the amount of damage the ninja is going to be dealing, even though it still might not be negligible in comparison to many of the other DPSs. It's still quite a bit. It's definitely quite a bit. I'll definitely say that for certain. Definitely interested in seeing the freaking parsing on ninjas more so than anything now. And one thing I'm also looking forward to is the fact on how many times we're going to be able to use Bava Kagra, because good God, golly goodness, we're able to freaking use that thing a lot, because with how we're able to freaking obtain Ninki, it's going to be very interesting because of what they did to Suiton, and then of course what they did to Mug. But not only that, because the weapon skills being the thing that you gain Ninki for, Bavakakra has a recast time of freaking 1 second. So the second you get 80, you can literally use that as much as you want. And you're going to be using it a lot because Tenchi Jin is no longer a part of the freaking Ninki gauge. It's literally just a cooldown. And so it's just like you have all of these options that you can either use freaking Hellfrog Medium for the AoE, or you can use Bavakakra for the single target without even having to worry about anything about just like the whole entire options when it comes to the freaking Tenchi Jin and so on and so forth. But then going back onto the Suiton bit, freaking Suiton has a new ability where it's known as Meisui. You'll be able to dispel the Suiton and actually increase your Ninki gauge by 40. So it's just like, think of using that and then Mug at the same time. You got a free freaking Bavakakra right there already on top of that. Like that is freaking crazy, guys. That is freaking crazy. Though some of the some ninjas are not really all that fond of the change that they made to Suiton because of the fact that it has gotten a significant nerf to its damage. And sure enough, 80 is definitely a significant amount as far as that is concerned, but it is what it is. It is what it is. It's like you have to, that equivalent exchange, you know, when it comes to having additional effects. You get one thing, you have to get rid of the other. But you never really know. They might change that back or something. Probably bring the potency up to maybe 150. Hey, things can change. We just gotta wait and see. But it's like one of the most amazing changes that they made is duality, because even though I didn't point out that duality has been removed, it's actually been consolidated to a freaking magnum opus of an ability, a freaking ability known as Bushin, which is the new ability that replaces duality and doubles the number of strikes of any weapon skills used for 15 seconds. Guys, do you even know how insane that is? You get literally 2 Aeolian edging combos doubled on a freaking 120 cooldown. Sure enough, it's part of the freaking gauge, but hey, it's a replacement for Tenchi Jin. I enjoyed that shit. That is amazing. That is awesome. Is that where our 4th Mudra comes into play here? Even though it's not technically a 4th Mudra, but it's like, sure, seriously, when do we get our 4th Mudra, guys? Anyway, as far as I'm concerned, these are substantial, like, very, very substantial, like, changes. Actually, I think they're very significant changes, in my opinion, when it comes down to it. I definitely love what they did to the ninja, and it makes me very interested to the feel of them when it comes to doing on the whole entire rotation. I really can't wait to see exactly what in the world they have in store for us with that. But as far as that is concerned, I can't wait for me to get my hands on it, level it up to 80, and see what it got going on. But now that we got that done, we now move on to the final melee, the coup de grace, the samurai. It is here, guys. Let us go on and get into the samurai now. So, the samurai. Samurais in the building, I swear to all that is holy. Please stand up, because with TP out, we are now all in with AoEs going full throttle. Because good God, golly goodness. Whew. Samurais literally got nothing else but just buffs all around. Even though they didn't really buff a good majority of like the weapon skills, which is just fine. Sure enough, I wish that freaking Gecko and freaking Kasha did not really get much of their like DPS potency increase. I wish those were like 500 or something. That would have been nice, because I mean, like you got freaking Paladin doing 550 on its freaking weapon rotation, you know? Yeah. Anyway, moving along back onto that, I mean, sure enough, it has a damage buff, but still, so does Paladin. Yeah. Anyway, not much change going on not much being removed other than a certain move being kind of consolidated into something else. As far as AoE combos, they have been increased to all hell, with them actually increasing Jinpu and Shifu duration by 15 seconds. Thank God for that, because I was getting so tired of having to do our actual single target rotations in order to increase those for our AoEs. No longer will we have to freaking do that, and I am thanking Yoshi P for that change. And also another awesome change is that Meikyo Shisui has gotten its cooldown reduced to 60 seconds. And I'm going to talk a lot more on that, because there's another ability that has a cooldown of 60 seconds that make no sense. And then, speaking of many other things that have actually gotten reduced or just freaking gotten removed altogether, is Merciful Eyes no longer reduces enmity, because there's really no need for it, because we don't really need to worry about it anymore. As long as you keep them tank stances up, tanks, I swear to God, you no longer have your DPS being lowered. So it's like, I swear to all that's holy, keep that damn tank stance up, or I swear to holy. But no, in all seriousness, don't remove your tank stance, please. Going on, Iki Shoten, which is a new ability that replaces Hagakure, as I was pointing out before. You now gain a flatline Kinki of about 50 instead of like 60 when you have like 3 Sen. So it's like, as far as the math on that, I mean, it's not exactly a nerf per se, because it's like you're able to instantly, not in battle, by the way, instantly gain 50 whenever you want on a cooldown of 60 seconds instead of like 40. But of course it was going to be that way, because they had to trade tick for tack here. So it's like 50-50 or 60, whichever works. At the very least, you're able to get that immediately instead of having to go through the combo. But it's like you're going through that combo and you're getting your DPS in, and then you bring it, you get your freaking Hagakure, put in your Shitens, and so on and so forth, or your Gurren, whichever, and just go to town on that shit. But it's like you can go to town immediately while it's doing your actual combos. So it's like there are ways to look at it in a brighter way, and then there are ways to look at it in a negative. But I find this to be more of a positive, because it's like you get it immediately, and I like that. I absolutely like that. I'll be able to build up my Sen as I'm doing the damage along with my Shiten, so it's just like, that is just fine for me. That is just fine for me. And I mean, it replaces Hagakure, so it's like I automatically have it. So that's amazing. And then to continue on, we have a lot of DPS going out here, because freaking Hitsatsu Gurren no longer has freaking fall off. What about that was okay? Not only that, Tenka Goken no longer has fall off. Oh my god. We are AoEing for days, guys. We are AoEing for days. And then we even have a freaking Gurren, single target Gurren equivalent that does even more damage at level 72, doing a freaking 1250 on a cooldown of 120 seconds. Same with Gurren. That's 2 minutes. 2 minutes you are doing 1250. What is this ability? Hitsatsu Sene, what are you, I swear? I don't understand, guys. I just don't understand. And then to top it all off, like, we have a trait at like freaking 74 that freaking brings our Aijutsu recast time to like 1.3 seconds. Like, my guys, Speedy Gonzalez, like Speedy Mitare Setsugekas, like what's going on here, guys? That's not even the freaking top of it right here, because the ability that goes along with freaking Meikyo Shisui that I was talking about when it comes to the cooldown, Tsubami Gashi, an ability unlocked at level 76 that repeats the previously used Aijutsu with an increased potency similar to that of having Kaiten on it. So Migari Setsugeka has already gotten a potency increase where it's no longer 790, if I remember correctly. It's now 800, but it's like it was either 700, 720 or something. But no, it's doing 800 now. And with Kaizen, that means it's freaking doing up to 1,200, if I remember correctly, if I got that math right. So yeah, that technically means that this new ability, as far as Kaishi Setsugeka, is now just a flat line 1,200 potency. And you get to do that right after just literally a Kaiten Midare Setsugeka. So do you know exactly what that means? That means that you are essentially doing 2,400 potency every minute. Guys, I would like to stress exactly how insane that sounds in terms of DPS. Why in the world is Samurai like this? It's like the potencies is just... I know you're not supposed to be looking at potencies, but it's kind of hard to do that when it's just insane. Oh my god. And then on top of that, you have freaking... Oh, you have Sene, which is doing 1,250. So it's like you're doing 300 and... not 300, but 3,650 damage. What is this job? What is this job, guys? Like, no, seriously, what in the world is this job? Okay. And then to finish off, we have something that is essentially a follow-up to our meditation known as Shoha, unlocked at level 80. And this does actual damage dependent on the amount that you accumulated in your meditation, where if you have up to 5 stacks, you deal about 500 potency. And so I feel like this is something that you're going to be like using when it comes to like the raids, and you have like phase transitions. You will be able to use this as you're waiting in order to build that up, and then immediately go in there, start freaking do your rotation, and freaking build up that DPS. It's going to be very crazy when it comes to the freaking parsing. I can't wait to see exactly how much damage the Samurai is going to be able to deal now when it comes to these things. And yeah, as far as overall change, not really much, which is to be expected. Other than that, it has a great bit of additions to it. So many ridiculous additions to it, I might add. And I still can't wrap my head around it. Like, one of them is this job. Okay. But yes, I can't wait to freaking put my hands on it again, because just I be playing this job like crazy, and I'm going to be playing this job like crazy again. It's hard for me to decide what I'm going to do. I don't know. I just don't know, guys. I just don't know.